Alright guys, so Kevin Feige, the main producer at Marvel, has confirmed in a recent interview that the MCU over time will be eventually recasting and doing a soft reset. We're going to see a recast for legacy characters such as Iron Man, such as Steve Rogers, Captain America, and in that interview he also stated exactly how they plan on doing it through the Secret Wars Avengers film, which is supposed to release in 2027. Now I do have an article pulled up for us to read through, and then we'll talk about this a little more afterwards, what this means for the MCU going forwards, all those types of things. So the article and the source that we're going to be reading from for today is IGN, just to know that this is a reliable source and that this is backed, and that other articles, other reliable sources have also reported on this. So let's go ahead and jump into this article. I'm gonna read over it for you guys. Let's go. So the title for this article is Marvel will recast the X-Men and reset the MCU after Avengers Secret Wars, says Kevin Feige, and then it shows in quotes right here, reboot is a scary word. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into this. It says, although Hugh Jackman returned for Deadpool and Wolverine and several of the original cast members of the X-Men franchise will appear in Avengers Doomsday, which that's interesting by the way, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige said in a recent interview that the studio plans to recast the X-Men characters when the superhero team gets its own MCU movie. In conversations with the several trade publications, including Variety, so a very notable source, Feige pointed to the Secret Wars comic from 2015 as the studio's inspiration for a reset of the MCU. We're utilizing that story not just to round out the stories we've been telling post Endgame, just as importantly, and you can look at the Secret Wars comics for where that takes you. It very much sets us up for the future, Feige said. Endgame literally was about endings. Secret Wars is about beginnings. So that's interesting there. Now moving on here, it says Feige clarified that the MCU first X-Men movie to be directed by Thunderbolt's Jake Schreier will be a reset, not a reboot of the MCU. So we're going with kind of a soft reboot. That's what he means by reset. Reboot is a scary word, Feige says. Reboot can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. Reset, singular timeline, we're thinking along those lines. X-Men is where that will happen next. The X-Men movie will recast the iconic mutants and return the franchise's focus to being on the young mutants attending Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. They have been a place to tell stories about young people who feel different and who feel other and who feel they don't belong. That was worded very weirdly there. Feige said that's the universal story for mutants and that's where we're going in the future. So which actors would you like to see? Okay, that's just the end of the article there. So there you have it right there. That was, the IGN article in totality for the most part. Now let's go ahead and discuss this a little further because this is big news. This is huge news for the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. The recasting of Iron Man and Steve Rogers' Captain America. Personally, as someone who grew up with these movies, it hurts to see that we're going to be changing the actors that worked so perfectly and so effortlessly inside of these roles, such as Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. I mean, these characters were done so well that Robert Downey Jr. is just sort of seen as Iron Man now. Like whenever Iron Man is written in the future, played in the future, voiced in the future, it's going to be based on Robert Downey Jr.'s interpretation of this character because that is just how good of a job he's done inside of this role. Now, can the same be said for Chris Evans? I don't think he was as strong and as memorable as a Robert Downey Jr. However, I think Chris Evans did a fantastic job, and personally for me, that was my favorite Avenger inside of the Avengers movies and inside the MCU overall. Now, if we're going to be honest, this is something that needs to happen because post Endgame, the MCU has really lost its footing. It hasn't really known what it wants to do. It's been trying to build up to a new super team, a new version of the Avengers. For instance, Thunderbolts is actually titled The New Avengers. Inside of that movie, they coined that term, The New Avengers. So they are trying their best to bring us a new super team, a new big team up movie, and it just hasn't been going their way. We've gotten ups and downs, mixed reviews. Now, personally, for me, I have liked a majority of the movies that Marvel has came out with post Endgame, though I have not enjoyed and liked all of them. I think for the most part, they've done a pretty good job. However, general audiences don't seem to agree with me on that point because the ratings show quite the opposite of that, and there's definitely been quite a few misses inside the MCU over the past few years. Now, I do find it interesting that they're going to use the Secret Wars movie to be able to do this, and I think think it makes perfect sense. We can just go ahead and create a whole new main timeline here using the Secret Wars film. Like Kevin Feige says, this is a reset, not a reboot. So I think it's safe to say going forward that we will see some people still reprise their roles that they're currently holding inside the MCU, while others do get reset and replaced, and we see brand new actors come in and give a fresh take on these characters. It's definitely felt awkward inside the MCU not having Iron Man there, not having a proper Captain America there. I know we have the new Captain America, but let's be honest, that's Falcon, man. I'm sorry, that's Falcon. That's not Captain America. That's not what a majority of people think when you say the word Captain America, and it wouldn't be for a very long time even if he continued in that role going forward. If you ask me personally now, overall, I think this is a great idea from the MCU. I think that sadly this is something that needs to happen if we want these films to be good going forward, and if we want future Avengers films. They kind of shot themselves in the foot with Endgame, because we already had a great cast here with actors and characters that people loved and were excited about when they went to the cinemas to see these people on the big screen. But they wanted to tell a great story in Endgame without completely undoing it in the very next movie. So I understand why they took the risk that they did. It paid off in that very moment because we have a fantastic film, really two films to look back on with Infinity War and Endgame. But man, it's been a rocky road ever since then. So me personally, I'm not too upset about this news. It's about time this happens. And yeah, they're planning on this 2 years out. So the Avengers Secret Wars film, I guess we can look forward to this happening. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts on this news. That was my, rant on this. I'd love to know your thoughts about the MCU being reset down in the comment section down below. Do you think this needs to happen for the survivability of the MCU going forward? Let me know all that down in the comment section down below. And if you don't know what we do here on Demigod ENT, we do film, TV, and anime-based content. So if you're interested in any of this type of content, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.